Hello, good evening, everyone. Welcome to today's class of the 16th cohort of the Electoral College Nigeria. Party chairman, party chairpersons, please galvanize your party members to join the class in the next 5 minutes. The class starts officially by 5 p.m. and you have 5 minutes to call your members, galvanize everybody to be present. Thank you. See you 5:05. Thank you.
Shamsuddin, good day. Shamsuddin, thanks so much. Shamsuddin, I saw your name and I was saying, what is Shamsuddin doing in this class? I saw the name and I didn't give hosting rights. I said maybe he came to listen to something he wanted to listen to again.
I've always been around, sir.
This is the first time I'm noticing that it's you. Well done, sir.
Thank you so
Well done,
much.
sir. Yes, sir.
I hope you are in Lagos, sir.
Yeah, I'm in Lagos. I'm in Lagos.
Okay, sir. I will find you.
I'm in Lagos, sir.
We'll find you for
Oh,
on that
Christmas. Okay, sir.
tidy December, not dirty one.
Okay, tidy December. Okay, no problem. I look forward to it, sir.
All right, sir.
Okay.
Hello, welcome everyone. Welcome. Party chairman, please call in your members for proper attendance. Please. The class officially starts now. My name is Salako Samsudin Adishinoayo. I am an associate of the Electoral College, and I was once a student too, and thank God for the opportunity to serve given to me by the college and the management. So I hope each and every one of us would also have the opportunity in the nearest future to volunteer and add their own quota to the crusade by God's grace. Our class for today is governance and corruption, and our facilitator will be the one and only Mr. Umar Yakub. And in the next few minutes, I'll be reading out his profile to each and every one of us. Please, can one or two people confirm if you can hear me clearly? Thank you so much. Thank you. Thank you. Mr. Umar Yakubu specializes in the area of data science, criminal justice system, financial crimes, and geoeconomics. At the national level, he has been a member of the National Risk Assessment Secretariat on Money Laundering and Terrorism Financing, and also one of 8 members that developed the National Anti-Corruption Strategy to be implemented by the Office of the Attorney General of the Federation from 2017 to 2021. He has been involved in policy making related to the legal and institutional framework and anti-money laundering and combating the financing of terrorism, AML CTF in Nigeria by serving on the Presidential Committee on Financial Action Task Force, PCF-ATF. He also worked on the technical committee that addressed FATF's strategy deficiencies. FATF is the Financial Action Task Force, which got Nigeria delisted as a country of high risk by FATF, the Financial Action Task Force, in 2013. His core areas of expertise are policy formulation around corporate governance, criminal justice, anti-money laundering, combating the financing of terrorism, anti-corruption, counter-fraud, and national security. He has obtained degrees and certificates from Ahmadu Bello University Zaria, Nasarawa State University, University of Chester, University of Leicester, and the University of Portsmouth in the United Kingdom, the University of Leiden in the Netherlands, and SDG Academy, Sustainable Development Goal Academy, and Harvard Business School in the United States. He is currently on a PhD program on defense and security at the Nigerian Defense Academy, NDA. He is a member of the Nigeria Economic Society, NAS, Nigeria Institute of Management, NIM, Association of Certified Anti-Money Laundering Specialists, ACAMS, ACAMS, Association of Certified Fraud Examiners, ACFE, and Center for Counter Fraud Studies, CCFS, the United Kingdom. He is the Chief Executive Officer of the Counter Fraud Center, LCC, whose website is www.counterfraudcenter.org, and the Executive Director of the Civil Society Organization, the Center for Fiscal Transparency and Integrity Watch, whose website is www.fiscaltransparency.org. Ladies and gentlemen, our facilitator for today's class, which is governance and corruption, an integral part of nation building as regards Nigeria. Please join me and welcome Mr. Umar Farouk. You're welcome, sir. Can you please kindly unmute our facilitator? Thank you. Mr. Umar Farouk, can you hear me, sir?
Hello.
Yeah, I can hear you. I think we can all hear you loud and clear. You are welcome, sir.
I think there's a mix-up somewhere. I am not the facilitator.
Hi, everyone. Good evening. Sorry for the slight confusion. Hi, Samsudin. Welcome. Sorry, I've been trying to get your attention since so you could make me co-host so I could speak. Okay, so our facilitator for today is not present due to some personal emergency, but there's someone here to step in for him in the person of Mr. Godwin. So, Mr. Godwin, you're welcome. Samsudin, please can you give me co-host so I could allow him speak? Just give me co-host function. Thank you so much.
All right, thank you so much. Can you hear me?
Yes, yes.
All right. I'm Godwin Agaba Uchube. Dr. Omar Yakubu will join us later. He's at an event currently. He's not disposed, but then I'll take the presentation on his behalf.
You're welcome. It's great to have you here. Please go ahead.
You can
I
go
want
ahead.
to put up my yes. I want to put up my screen. Is disabled. Kindly enable me to put up the screen to share my screen.
Please give him co-host function. Samsudin.
Okay. All right, here you go, sir.
All right. Okay, can you see my screen?
Yes.
All right, thank you. So the presentation will be on governance and corruption. We have a list of contents here. Introduction, what governance is all about, dimension of good governance, what is corruption, impact of corruption on governance, legal and institutional framework on governance, and then recommendation and conclusion. So quickly, governance is central to creating and sustaining an environment that promotes the robust development and complements sound economic policies. Governance generally have to do with creating an enabling environment for development to strive. There is no nation on earth that is doing very well beyond their peers without having an element of good governance. And by way of conceptual definition, the United Nations Development Program define governance as good governance as participatory, transparent, accountable, effective, equitable, and supportive of the rule of law. Also, the IMF also view governance as a broad concept encompassing all aspects of how a country is governed, including economic policies, regulatory framework, and adherence to the rule of law. If you look at these two definitions, you discover that two key important concepts are recurring. First is development, and then the second is the rule of law. Development, according to Dudley Shears, for us to have a development in the society, first you have to answer the question of what is happening to poverty, what is happening to unemployment, and what is happening to inequality. So in a society where you have high level of poverty, where you have inequality and unemployment is also at the peak, you would say that kind of society is not developed. That could also mean that there's absence of good governance. The other concept there is the rule of law. Good governance cannot be achieved in a place where you do not have the rule of law. Rule of law means everyone is equal to the law, everyone is governed by the law. That is the principles of the rule of law. So there is a close relationship between the rule of law, development, and governance. So for us to have a good governance in the society, we need to look at all of these indices. First, what is happening to poverty? What is happening to unemployment? What is happening to inequality? Also, everyone being governed according to the law, or do we have an orderly society? So basically, that is what good governance is all about. A society that is transparent, that is participatory. It is not limited to a particular class of individuals in the society or a particular family. It is open, it is equitable, everyone is equal before the law. The share of, or let's say resource allocation is given across all spectrums of the society. So until we have this on board, we could not be talking about good governance. And good governance is very, very important for us to have development and also to answer the questions of Dudley Shears of what is happening to poverty. In a country where you have good governance, of course, the crisis of poverty is being tackled. The level at which unemployment is been reduced. You could see some country will tell you they have 0.3% of unemployment. That is because they have good governance in place. You could also see a country where everyone is equal. There is no inequality in the society. That is as a result of good governance. So that is basically what good governance is all about. Then a quick look at the dimensions of good governance. We have 4 critical dimensions of good governance. The first is political accountability. And when we talk about political accountability, we're looking at key things such as credible elections. Just like this school is all about, electoral college, credible election is a very important aspect of good governance, of a prosperous and a developing, or let's say a developed society, because it is the system or mechanism where people are being re-elected and people get to serve their fatherland. Okay, so we need to have a credible election. Until we have a good and credible election, we cannot be talking about good governance. In a society where you see that election is marred with violence, there's a lot of rigging and a lot of unusual things, people will lose trust in the electoral body. People will lose trust in the system entirely. So where we do not have a credible elections, then there is actually a problem. Transparency in party financing. How are the parties being funded? How do political figures, participants, how do they get money to fund elections? Is it through money laundering? Is it through terrorist funds from terrorism? Is it through money laundering? So there should be a transparent way in which parties are being funded, and parties should be accountable as well. Okay, so for example, now after the 2023 election, we expect that all political parties should have submitted their account details on how much they spent, how much they received, and where they get the money from. So transparency in that aspect is also very, very important. So we'll be sure that everyone in the society is equal, and the resources in which we use in electing people into office are not from dubious sources as well. Also, asset declaration. Another element of it is asset declaration in political accountability. This is very, very important. We see a lot of recovery, asset recovery by the EFCC, ICPC, and other units within that space. That is because political leaders that have been elected are siphoning the resources of their country, buying assets, buying properties, and taking the money far away from the country to other safe havens. So there is a need for a continuous asset declaration before you enter political office, after leaving political office, so that we know that what you have is commensurate with what you get as your allowance being a political figure in the society. So until we have that, then we don't have good governance yet. That's one of the dimensions as well. Then the other one is civil society participation. For us to have an effective civil society participation, there is need for a freedom of information. The FOI law of 2011 gives the right to demand from the government. The FOI law is all about citizens' ability to demand from the government certain levels of information. You should be able to walk up to any ministry or to any agency and demand for some details, some basic informations. So the government should not deny you of it. FOI also includes participation of the society. So everyone should be carried along in that aspect. So until we have that freedom of information to demand for information, to hold government accountable, then we do not have a good government in place. The procurement process have to be open. The budgeting have to be open. The recruitment processes and all of it have to be open. Citizens should have access to it. Those information should be out on the website. Like our center here, the Center of Physical Transparency and Integrity Watch, Public Integrity, sorry. We have a project called Transparency and Integrity Index that measures government openness in terms of freedom of information. Where government agencies, MDAs are expected to publish certain levels of information on their website. So citizens would not need to write to a ministry or an agency, a department for certain level of information. Procurement records are supposed to be there on the website. Okay, all the recruitment and annual reports are expected to be there. So that is it. Then the other aspect have to do with the role of media. There is a need for media freedom. There's a need for NGO, civil society, as key stakeholders to be players in the system. It is governance in a government where the government is not open to welcome criticism, not open to embrace the media and civil society activities. You can have good governance in that kind of situation. It also talks about governance monitoring. The civil society organization, what we do basically is to monitor what the government do. Okay, are they doing the right thing? Is it based on what standard practice? What is attained at different treaties that has been signed at international and even at national level. So there is a need for both the public, civil society organization, the media to be able to monitor the activities of the government. We just had the president bringing a budget, introduce a budget to the National Assembly. Citizens should have the right to monitor every details of the budget. Okay, so you have the responsibility to check every details of the budget. What is budgeted for this? Is it necessary? Should we have it? And also have your opinion. And the government at its own end is also should be willing to accept the opinions of the people in that regard. Then we also have inclusiveness. Okay, everyone should be part of it. It shouldn't be a government for a particular class of persons, like we have in Nigeria, rotating around a particular class. Those who are governors are the ones being senators and ministers and the rest. It's not supposed to be so. It should be open. Everyone should be able to contest for a political position, regardless of your background, regardless of your religion, regardless of your ability or disability status, or however you want to see it. Women should also be well carried along in that aspect. So until we have that, then we could be talking about good governance. The other aspect of the dimension have to do with public sector management. That have to do with public sector expenditure management, budget preparation, and execution. Okay, so the procurement aspect, the management aspect of public sector should be transparent. Okay, we should have a credible tax system. We should know how much the government is collecting. So that at the end of the month, or when I do a business and then I pay tax, I know very well I am paying with joy because I know what the government will definitely do with the money. Okay, not when I pay tax at the end of the year, 2025 budget is reflecting what does not even add up to or benefit me in the common man in the society. So there should be that transparency at that level in terms of expenditure management and also procurement. It should be open. It should be competitive. Okay, it shouldn't be a system where because I have the position to give the slots to my family members, even if they are not qualified, and then I give it out like that. That is an element of bad governance, which is not good. So that is it. Competitive private sector. The private sector should be competitive. Okay, there should be a good competitive restructuring, transparency in corporate governance. There shouldn't be a kind of favoritism. Okay, companies or private entities should not be romancing, or permit me to use that word, government agencies to lobby for contracts in an illegal way. It should be open for everyone, every private companies to lobby and all of it. So basically, those are the dimensions of good governance. When you have those four elements together, you could have good governance. And when these four elements that I have discussed, and as well as different examples that I have given, are absent, then you will know very well that there is actually a problem in that in the country. And then from this explanation, you could actually think out some problems that we have in the country. You could know very well that, yeah, in terms of credible elections, Nigeria, are we 100% sure that our elections are good? In terms of freedom of information, yes, at the federal level, the FOI Act worked. How about the state government? There are a lot of state government that have not enacted or domesticated the FOI law. Okay, that means you cannot go to the state government to demand for information, which is wrong. So from these dimensions, you could look at our country, Nigeria, and see if we have good governance in place or not. So with this kind of knowledge, you could arm yourself with the skills to demand for, okay, which area should I look at to hold the government accountable in terms of FOI? Why are states not domesticating the laws? Okay, in terms of tax, do we have a credible tax system in the country? Is our procurement laws and practices up to standard? So basically, that's the dimensions of good governance. Then the second aspect of the presentation is corruption. We are to see the relationship between good governance and corruption. And by way of conceptual clarification, corruption is the misuse of public office, public resources, or public responsibility for private, personal, or group gain. Okay, so when you have you have a position of trust, you're being given a position of trust, and you decide to misuse it, okay, mismanage for your personal gain, for private gain, or for a particular group gain, it is known as corruption. Also, the Transparency International define corruption as the abuse of entrusted power for private gain. Okay, so corruption is a disease that affects every society. Our country is not the only one when it comes to corruption. It affects every society. So it erodes trust, it weakens the democracy, it hampers economic development, and further exacerbates inequality. It creates poverty, social division, and environmental crisis. There are a lot of things that are not working in the country because of corruption. Okay, resources that have been assigned for a particular project are getting diverted into other things, which is very, very bad. Okay, you see in a state battling with a poor health system, the medical facilities and all of them are bad. And then allocations are coming in every month. And then the head of the state, or let's say the governor, it's amassing the money and taking it out for private gain. Okay, so you see it has a lot of economic development issues and create poverty, social division, inequality, and also affects democracy. When we have corruption in the society, the systems are weakened. Okay, individuals and everyone, it affects everyone. So that is what corruption is. We'll look a quick look at an overview of corruption in Nigeria. We're going to look if by data or empirical facts, both within the country and outside the country, to see actually if we have corruption in the country. So the corruption index, according to Transparency International 2023, Nigeria scored 25 over 100. Okay, and we rank 145 out of 180 countries. You see, that is a very, very poor performance when it comes to our ranking in terms of the susceptibility of our institutions to corrupt practices. Okay, so out of 100, we just scored 25. And out of 180, we are at 145, which is a very, very bad. So these kind of figures and data should challenge every one of us. Why are we very, very backward in this aspect? With this kind of high score, as someone that is willing to invest, will I want to put my money into such economy? So those are the kind of questions we should be asking ourselves. Economic impact, that's according to UNODC 2024. About $1.26 billion were paid in bribe in 2023, which is actually 0.35% of our GDP, which is very, very bad. Okay, imagine you go to the police, you have to pay bribe. You go to the hospital, you pay bribe. Everywhere you have to pay bribe. So according to this data, $1.26 billion were paid as bribe in 2023. The data for 2024 is not yet out, but then this is the tune at which corruption is prevalent in the country. Also, 56% of Nigerians who interacted with public officials, many of whom engaged in bribery. That is 56% of Nigerians that interacted with public officials recorded that they have given bribe. That's how bad it is. So the system, it's bad to the point that 56%. You have 56%. That means it's almost majority. Okay, that have interacted with public officials, they demanded for bribe. That is according to MBS 2024. Also, only 20% of citizens are satisfied with Nigerian democracy, according to Freedom House 2024. That means democracy is not the actual democracy would not satisfy because it is not actually solving the problem of the people. There is a lot of things that are inherent in it that are not good. Okay, that is why we have that kind of low score. Also, bribery prevalence rose from 6% in 2019 to 14% in 2023, according to UNODC in 2024. So all this data is to show you the prevalence of political corruption in Nigeria. So with yourselves and with the data, you can see the factual evidence, the empirical evidence that shows that we have corruption in the country. Then let's quickly look at the impact of corruption on governance. Like I said, we're trying to relate good governance and corruption. First, it leads to inequality and poverty. Okay. Now, when there is corruption in the society, it means certain citizens who should have equal access to healthcare system, electricity, and other basic needs in the society, they wouldn't be able to access it. Okay, the rich and the powerful who could afford luxury, afford private establishment, and also going outside of the country will have to use that route. However, the common man wouldn't be able to use it, which is very, very bad. So it leads to inequality and poverty. Corruption erodes trust. Okay, I saw some post on INEC Facebook page recently about a chain of posts this month, and I could see the comment sections in those posts, and you could tell very well that Nigerians lost trust already. Okay, which is very, very bad. Imagine a situation where the citizens don't even trust the institution at all. Okay, so those kind of things, when you ask people to come out to vote, they will be they wouldn't come out because they don't trust the system to deliver good results, which is actually bad for democracy. It also leads to social unrest. Okay, insecurity issues that we have in the society are mostly as a result of political corruption. Okay, the educational system that should be well funded are not funded, and because they are not well funded, education is scarce at the rural level, and because of that, they are susceptible to be recruited easily into a different terrorist group. They wasted resources that should have been channeled into better things that will make the country better are all being diverted. Okay, if you look at different reports that have been given by the EFCC, the NFIU, and the rest, you could see some of the recoveries that have been done, all amounting in billions of dollars. So imagine those resources are channeled into, are used properly. Okay, you could see what our country will become. Okay, compared to other countries that we have more resources than them, we're doing better than them, but then the challenge of corruption has hampered our development. It also hinders economic growth and development. Part of the economic challenge we have in the country today can be traced to corruption. Okay, when the actual thing that is expected, the actual budget and resources that is expected to be channeled into the economy to ensure that money circulate and things are better, inflation are down. If they have been amassed, if they have been mismanaged, of course, the economic growth will be hampered immediately. It also fosters insecurity. Okay, it reduces the quality of life of the people, and it negatively affects foreign direct investment, capital flow, trade, and aid. Okay, no one would want to invest in a place where corruption is at the peak, where you need to bribe everyone to get things done, where you need to pay double taxation. After paying taxation, you need to settle this, settle that, settle that. Of course, if you look at that, you end up not making any profit. Okay, so it affects foreign direct investment into the country. You see a lot of foreign companies are leaving the shores of the country. Those that they recruit, the staffs they employed before, all losing their job as a result of bad economic policies and also bad environment to do business as a result of corruption. So those are the impact of corruption on good governance. So when you have all of those things, you can be talking about good governance. Nigeria have made different strides, different efforts in containing the challenge of corruption. And some of it is a legal and institutional framework to curtail the challenge of corruption in the country. One of it is the Independent Corrupt Practice and Other Related Offense Act 2000, which established the ICPC, okay, and then giving them the mandate to curb corrupt practices and other related offenses within that sector. We also have the EFCC Act 2004, the Advanced Free Fraud Act, Money Laundering and Prevention Act 2022, Code of Conduct Act, Proceeds of Crime Recovery and Management Act. Very, very important. This is the act that gives us the right to recover some of those stolen funds from outside the country and also within the country. Terrorism Prevention and Prohibition Act 2022, Nigerian Extractive Industry Transparency Initiative Act, Freedom of Information Act, where I said it gives you the right to demand for information, making the government to be transparent. Fiscal Responsibility Act, Penal Code laws of Federation of Nigeria, Criminal Code law of Federation of Nigeria. Those are all the legal and institutional framework that we have to curtail corruption, and others that are there that are not mentioned here. So those are the efforts that Nigeria has taken. Now, if you talk about the effectiveness of those legal framework, it will be left for us to be the judge if they are actually effective. Is the EFCC effective in their mandate? Or how about the ICPC? Are the laws actually good? So those are the things that that are very, very important, and also part of this training for us to tease out and discuss, and also look at ways to lead advocacy around it, lead research around it, and other things that will help the country. Check out those laws if they are effective. If they are not effective, what are the measures you suggest? What are the things you suggest? Are the institutions, okay, responsible for curtailing corruption to ensure that we have good governance? Are they doing the right thing? What are they doing badly that you feel we could improve on to make the country better? So those are the legal framework in that regards. So quickly, we'll look at some of the recommendations. We've talked about the problem, and now it is time for us to quickly delve into the recommendation and what we think is good. First, strengthen legal framework. Okay, now you cannot fight corruption, you cannot have good governance if you have weak laws, if you have laws that could not actually curtail the problem. Okay, if the laws are not strong enough, if people could boycott the law, if people could misuse the law, interpret the law badly, you cannot solve the problem of corruption. So first, we need robust laws, okay, and then not just having the laws, we need to also enforce the laws. Okay, the institutional bodies that are expected to solve the problem of corruption need to also be empowered. They need to also be independent enough to curtail the challenge of corruption. So that is one of the first steps. Let's strengthen the legal frameworks. Let's ensure that the laws are good, and the laws are capable of curtailing the challenge of corruption. Second one is promote transparency and accountability. Let's have open data, make the government data accessible to the public. Okay, so I wouldn't need to write to the government, to an MDA, to a state government, to demand some levels of information. Those information are expected to be out there on their website. Every time you ask of it, they should be readily available for you. But then you look at the budget presentation at National Assembly recently, you see them advocating for some ministries and agencies to not be given for their budget not to be approved. Why? Because they've not been accountable. Okay, they've not been given their budget breakdown, how they spend their money, and all of it, which is very, very bad. Imagine at the level of the Senate, they are having that kind of challenge. How about the citizen? So that is bad. Okay, there are some state government, like I said earlier, that if you go walk up to them and said, okay, I need this level of information, I need the budget breakdown for last year, your annual report, you wouldn't get it. They will even tell you don't even have the right to have access to it. It's not a public information and all of it, which is bad. Another aspect is enhanced public participation. There's a need for citizens' engagement. Involve citizens in the decision-making processes, public consultations, feedback mechanism, and participatory budgeting to enhance governance. Okay, so we cannot have good governance without citizen participation, citizens engagement. So citizens must be carried along. As a party member, you should ensure that your policies, your practices, and all of it are communicated to the citizens. Carry the people along. Okay, as someone with the EFCC, or let's say EFCC as a body, ICPC as a body, they need to carry the citizens along in their programs and in their approaches in curtailing corruption. When citizens are not effectively carried along, then we don't have good governance. Okay, and then it will become a one-sided thing. Also, civil society organization. Civil society organization helps in monitoring government performances, in monitoring the excesses of government. They serve as a watchdog to the government. Okay, so if the environment is not conducive for civil society, it means we can't have a good governance, because things will go unaccountable and no one will be there to question the government. So there should be that enabling environment that enhance public participation, civil society participation. So that is one of the recommendations. Then strengthen institutions. Individuals should not be more powerful than the institutions. we see some situation where some certain levels of individuals in the country, because they're powerful, because they were past governors or past president, they're not equal before the law. The law doesn't apply to them. Okay, so which is bad. That you are a former president does not mean that you should not be accountable, you should not be arrested, and all of it. So everyone should be ruled on the basis of the rule of law. The law should take charge on everyone. So that is it. So there's a need for us to strengthen institutions, strengthen the EFCC, ICPC, the Nigerian judiciary to be independent, okay, so that they can be able to tackle the challenges. If they're not independent, if they're not well funded, there's no way they could fight corruption in the country. Then effective civil service, professionalize the civil service, emphasizing merit-based recruitment and training. Okay, so there is a need for us to have frequent training for civil servants, public servants, okay, and recruitment should be based on merit. It should not be based on parochial reasons or because of this person is from my region, this person is from my religion, and all of those petty things. Those are not the yardstick for recruitment into the civil service sector. If we have that, then we'll continue to have the issue of ineffective performance and service delivery from those persons. Then Ombudsman Office, establish independent Ombudsman Office to address citizens' grievances. Okay, we've seen a situation where the citizens are not satisfied with a particular policy, with the particular practices, and then nothing has been done about it. Okay, we've been talking about police brutality and all of it, and citizens have been complaining and all of it. Electoral practices and all of it that are not conducive with the citizens and all of it. Those complaints keep coming in every day, and then they are not being attended to. Those kind of things, once we have it, we don't have good governance in place yet. So until we have those kind of offices, those kind of establishments, those kind of system on board in place, then we could talk about good governance, where citizens could actually lay complaint and then they're being attended to immediately. Then there's also a need for us to promote ethical leadership. Leading by example, leaders should demonstrate integrity, honesty, and ethical behavior. Okay, so we all here as comrades, we're leaders in different respective of different political parties and the rest. The best way to have good governance in the society is when you lead by example. Imagine as a young person, you keep seeing corrupt practices, people getting away with corrupt practices every day. Of course, your behavior will be tilted towards that this is the standard practice. Okay, I just get to steal a lot of billions of dollars from the state, and then I pay 500 million naira, and then all my sins go away. So when you have those kind of ethical those kind of bad behaviors, you see that people learn from it, and then society becomes very, very bad. So as leaders, there's a need for them to lead by example, to be honest, to have that, to demonstrate that integrity, that element of integrity, so that those before them and those under them could also learn from it. Another recommendation is financial management and audit. There should be effective budgeting, and they should allocate resources efficiently, prioritize essential service, and minimize wastage. We could see one of the lawmaker recently was explaining how ministries and departments every year keep budgeting for cars, for spoons, for things that are not that relevant, things that should come maybe once in 2-3 years. But every year they keep making these budgets as if, of course, you know very well that those monies have been siphoned and all of it. Okay, so there's a need for effective budgeting. We can't have good governance when we don't budget responsibly. Okay, so if the budgeting is wrong, it means money will be channeled into the wrong purpose and all of it, which is bad. Then regular audit, there's a need for us to conduct independent audits of public finances, okay, so that we know where the monies are going to, what they are being spent on, and ensure that they're not being siphoned and all of it. Another recommendation we have is for us to combat money laundering and illicit financial flow. Now, anti-money laundering measures, there's a need for us to strengthen the regulations to prevent money laundering. When it comes to regulation in this aspect, it's not just limited to the regulatory aspect or just having the laws. The institutions should be independent. The institutions should be ready to tie up every loose end, every aspect, okay, that is loose, that encourage money laundering. Okay, then there's a need also to track illicit flows of finances, money, and prevent illicit financial transactions. Okay, money should not be used to sponsor terrorism. Okay, and if all of those things are enabled because the system is weak. Okay, so people could easily manipulate the system and easily fund terrorism, which is bad. So there is a need for us to combat money laundering and illicit financial flow, first by having an efficient legal framework to curtail it, and then having an effective institution also to curtail the challenge. There also need for us to promote gender equality and social inclusion. Okay, there should be equal representation. And when we talk about gender in this aspect, it is not limited to just men and women, even people with disability. There's a need for us. There's a need for us to carry everyone along. Social inclusion is also a very important tool if you want to have development. Leaving anyone behind, it therefore means that we're discriminating, and which is bad for a developed society. So if we want to move to become a developed society, there is a need for us to promote gender equality, give equal representation, encourage women participation in governance, and then you see it, good governance come to be. Also, there's a need to educate and raise awareness, civic education, media literacy. Civil society also need to do more, okay, engage the people. Institutions responsible for curtailing corruption need to do more. They need to carry the citizens along. I know of the EFCC radio and other X program that they organize. Those are good practices. Those are good practices that help to carry the citizens along. So that citizens know what the government is doing, the efforts they are making, and by so doing, it helps to educate them. Also, even at the secondary, primary level, tertiary institution, there's a need for us to incorporate anti-corruption element into their curriculum, so that from the cradle stage, they can imbibe the culture of integrity right from that level. And also the last one is international cooperation. There's a need for us to collaborate with other countries and international organizations to combat corruption and promote good governance. Most of the asset recovery we've had in the country are basically because of international cooperation, collaboration. Without that, we cannot get the money that have been looted by Abacha and a lot of persons, okay, and other cases that they have been recovered so far. So without all of it, we international cooperation, we cannot have it. So there's a need for us to have more of that, and also collaborate in terms of equipping our anti-corruption agencies, okay, their capacity to be able to curtail corruption. So this is the end of our training today. I'll be open to questions and answers. Thank you so much.
Thank you so very much, Mr. Godwin. You've done justice to our topic today, and as your name implies, Godwin, you won every of our hearts today. Thank you so much. Thank you for the educative, enlightening, and robust session. Thank you so much, sir. And quickly, let me take some expert from what you just taught us this evening. And from your definition of governance and corruption, and what I've been able to put together is, from everything you've explained, that good governance is a proven advocate and mechanism to curb corruption. That's why we think governance and corruption goes hand in hand. If there is good governance, definitely corruption will be curbed to the barest minimum. And like you mentioned, the core catalysts for good governance are public office transparency, citizen participation and representation, ethical leadership, which is demonstrating the element of good leadership, and managing and minimizing wastage. And also you spoke about the responsible and effective budgeting, regular audits, and international collaboration. And from what we know, that every of our leaders are a breed of the society. If we all can apply everything you've taught us in this lesson in our lives, that is preparing us as a good follower to become a good leader in life as Electoral College has been doing so far. Thank you so much. And I think we'll be open to questions now, and we'll be taking questions from hand raising and from the chat box in a subsequent manner. Thank you, Mr. Godwin Nagaba. Thank you so much. We go into the questions now. Mr. Umaru Abubakar. Yes, please ask your question. We'll ask you to unmute.
All right, thank you very much. Good evening, and thank you so much, Mr. Godwin, for the insightful presentation tonight. My name is Umar Abubakar Sadiq, APC from Kaduna State. I want to ask two very quick questions. One, yesterday, one of the honorable member representing Kaduna North Federal Constituency, Muhammad Bello El-Rufai, on the floor of the House of Representatives, was questioning MDA's, annual infusion of money for computers, for chairs, for accessories, stationaries, annually. And these things are not being replaced. And the budget is always prepared annually. That money is always appropriated annually. I want to ask, can that be tagged as corruption? Because annually these things happen. And he was questioning, they appropriate funds for this particular things annually, and there is no replay. If they replace, where are they taking the replacement to? Can we tag that as corruption, seeing that the budget passes through what both executive and the National Assembly alike? Then the second quick question is, in your rounding of when you're recommending, you talk about international collaboration, where you made mention of late General Sani Abacha, how will Nigeria be able to recover some of the looted funds as a result of collaboration. I now ask, because I remember vividly, former President Buhari, in a national broadcast, was caught on tape saying that he personally feels Abacha never looted funds, but that would be a question for another day. Now, my question is, why is it that when these funds are being taken to these countries, there's no proactive measure? These countries or these international bodies don't do anything. It is when the funds, after some years, perhaps they better have made money from the interest accrued from these funds. Later, they will now say, okay, and they are repatriating some back to Nigeria, what have you. I want to ask, shouldn't the collaboration stop these funds going to these countries in the first instance? That's my question, sir. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Mr. Omar. Mr. Godwin, please kindly respond to his question. Thank you.
All right, thank you so much, Mr. Umar, for that question. You see, the challenge of corruption, it cannot be curtailed when we have ineffective budgeting. The situation in which we saw from the Honorable's outcry yesterday, also when it was made, it's as a result of bad budgeting. Okay, and like I said, if you follow through their session, you could discover that there are some MDAs that are not even accounting for the budget in which that are being approved every year. Okay, one of our projects here at the center here, Transparency and Integrity Index, TII, which we release every year, we assess the proactive disclosure of the budgeting and the rest reports and the rest from across ministries, MDAs every year. You could see a lot of MDAs not complying. Some don't even have a functional website in the first place. Okay, procurement, the informations are not there. Okay, so which is a very, very bad thing. But then for me, it is corruption in a way, because every year they keep budgeting, but then we don't know whether they keep buying cars, because of course, if they've been buying cars, the cars would have filled up everywhere. Okay, which of course I know it is not tenable. Okay, and also they're not accounting for it properly, which is also another challenge. So for me, if I'm going to answer that question, I would say there is a need for us to have a strong institutions. When you have a strong institutions, they will be able to vet every details in every budget. Okay, if you look at some of the findings and some of the works that organizations like Budget does, you could see that even this year budget, they call it a mess because there were a lot of things, a lot of irregularities in the budget in the first place. Okay, so there is that challenge is there in terms of, and that's why we were having some of these bills on of fiscal policy reforms and tax bills and all of it to help check out some of those excesses to see that effective budgeting are being done. So that is a very big problem that everyone have to be proactive and talk about honestly. Okay, both the civil society organization from our part, media, and everyone needs to vet every details of the budget that every MDA bring on board. Okay, and also ensure that at the end of the year, their budget, their annual report, you could see how they spend the money and all of it. So I cannot answer if it is a corruption or it is not a corruption. It is the EFCC and the rest that would define it if it is a corruption. But I could tell you that it is actually not a good practice. That is that. Then on your second question, in terms of collaboration to stop illicit money flow from the country, actually the United Nations Convention Against Corruption, UNCAC, one of the major reasoning things they do is to ensure that there is collaboration among countries. Okay, there are different legal framework at international levels that enables that tighten the system to ensure that money doesn't flow from countries to other countries and the rest for illegal purposes. Okay, but then you know very well that there are a lot of politics behind that as well. Okay, so what we could have is the legal framework. Okay, the legal framework help us to retrieve. Okay, one of the reports we just my center just released the civil society parallel report on UNCAC implementation in Nigeria. You could see that from that report, even the EFCC and those responsible for asset recovery faces a lot of challenges even to recover the money in the first place. Okay, there is a lot of stringent laws, conditions, and all of it here and there to recover the funds. Okay, so but then at the UNCAC, the United Nations level, that's why we have all of those treaties being signed here and there to ensure that it is being curtailed. But then you cannot stop people from sending money abroad and the rest. Business also have to go on. So it is under it that money laundering and the rest passes through and the rest. So that's why we have money laundering laws and all those laws to help curtail all of those things. Another aspect is where those kind of things happen is among designated non-financial business and professions like real estate and other things in which you see them buying houses and all of it. Okay, that's why we have effective a compliance system ensuring that those DNLBPs and all those places in which those money go into in Nigeria here, ensure that they comply to the money laundering laws and financing of terrorism law. So if they do it on our part, we do our own. On their part, they do our own. I think we could have a good headway. Thank you so much. I don't know if I answered your question.
Thank you, sir. And we don't have any question in the chat box, and I have to Mr. Wisdom, please kindly unmute and ask your question. Thank you.
All right. Good evening, everybody. My name is Wisdom Ubeku, and well, my first question has been addressed, which was asked by the first person who asked the question. But my second question is why the profile of our today's facilitator in his absence was read. There are so many anti-this, anti-that, anti-this, anti-that in his profile as regards to corruption and laundering and all that. But at the end of the day, we were not able to be intimidated with the things he has done as regarding to challenges or maybe the cases he has been able to take off to curb the anti-money laundering, corruption, services, and all that in Nigeria. So I want to ask, is it possible for us to know, in his absence anyway, even as somebody is representing him, is it possible for us to know the steps he has taken so far? Because you look at the way Nigeria is today, it is corruption that kept us where we are. So what are the steps or the things that he has done in the past to make sure that this corruption level is being brought down to at least to a barest minimum, where the minimum, the least Nigerian or maybe the least citizen of this country can, say, yes, he has really tried and his input is being felt in fighting corruption. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Mr. Wisdom.
Thank you so much, Mr. Wisdom, for that question. I will try to answer the question on Dr. Umar Yakub's behalf, because we work together. So I could share some of the things that we have done at the center here, called the Center for Fiscal Transparency and Public Integrity. First, one of the things that we've done here is probes monitor. Now, this probe monitor have to do with all the probes that have been constituted in Nigeria from 1999 to date. To date, okay, which have not been attended to. You see, you raise the issue of corruption in Nigeria every day, and then the government will quickly set up probes to investigate that corrupt practices. But then Nigerians are not concerned about what is the outcome of the probes. Okay, is there a conclusion? Is there a report? So out of almost thousands of probes that we have, I think about 3 or so have ever been concluded. Okay, so we have this database that we make it available for the public to monitor all the probes that have been constituted. Once the probe is being constituted, we have a database where we collect the probes to enable Nigeria keep track of all of those probes. Now, it is now left for Nigeria, civil society organization, media, and corporates like you and I that are here to take up that probes and said, okay, these probes was constituted in the year 2000 to date. Where is the report? Okay, only 3 from 1999 to date, only 3 have been concluded that we have a report for it. So you can see how bad the situation is, and that's how far we could go. Okay, so that's one of it. That's one of the things that Mr. Umar has been doing in that aspect. Okay, another thing is the Transparency and Integrity Index that I talk about. Now, when we started, there are a lot of government agencies, ministries, and departments that don't even have a website. Some, they have a website. You click on the website, it is dead link. Okay, some, they will just post their maybe a car and the rest. In 2023 assessment, out of the 774 local government that we have in the country, only 7 have a website. You can imagine. Now, because of the project, many ministries, departments, and agencies have been able to fix up their website, and not just fixing up their website, have been able to publish their information on the website so that the public can have access to those information. Information like their procurement records, their employment processes, and other variables that are there, citizenship engagement, and all of those things. Okay, so currently now we're having we're having ministries competing on which to come first in first position. Okay, because all of them are trying to get the variables in which we assess them, so they could also make amends. So that's one thing that we do in that aspect. Another thing is electoral financing database. Now we want to know how elections are being financed, how political leaders, aspirants, and the rest, where they get their money from. I remember when we started this project, we wrote letters to different politicians and the rest. I don't think anyone replied to that. Okay, so we have that database as well for Nigerians to see, and then we write to them always at every election to be able to get their source of funding. Then we could be able to monitor as well. We also have ONCAC monitoring mechanism, another database. Now, this ONCAC monitoring mechanism, what it does is all the things that Nigeria have signed into the ONCAC, the different aspects of the ONCAC, okay, on prevention and all of it, we were able to bring them out, the lead agencies, the responsibilities, and some of the things that have been done, recommendations and all of it, okay, so that Nigerians can also have access to the monitoring mechanism and monitor effectively, okay. Aside that, we've been heavily part of the advocacy group that brought about the implementation of the Money Laundering Act 2022, the Poker Act, and all of it. Okay, those are the things that we have done. We also have other database like Casper. That one has to do with crime. Okay, what the Casper does is it's all criminal activities that have been reported in the country across social medias and the rest. The Casper is an AI trained platform. It picks those data and report showing trends and patterns of where crimes occur in the country, and then we give those data to the government, and then it helps them to focus direction on where crime is more prevalent. So there are a lot of things that I could not say here, but those are some of the things that Mr. Umar, as the executive director, is guiding us through, and then we've been able to implement. I don't know if I answer your question. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Mr. Godwin. We have a question in the chat box from Yusuf Salisu. Says, in a situation where a particular government implemented a policy, or rather harsh economic policy, that relegates citizens to deplorable state of poverty, can we count that as element of bad governance? Thank you.
All right. Policies are not expected to take the citizens into poverty. Like I said, in the start of my presentation, I tried to define what even development is all about, given the stance of Dudley Shears 1969, where he said that if you want to talk about development, good governance, you should first question what is happening to poverty, what is happening to unemployment, what is happening to inequality. So policies to address all of those things are expected to lift the people from poverty. Okay, they are expected to take the people from poverty, to reduce unemployment, and to bridge the gap in inequality. Okay, so if you discover that there is a particular policy that is not favorable to the country, that takes the people into poverty and all of it, now you have the right to collaborate with civil society organizations. Now, what we do in Nigeria is to antagonize the government, and at the end of it, it becomes a defamation, it becomes criminal offenses, and then you've been dragged here and there. There are processes in doing this. Okay, you could sue. You could also join the civil society organization as a platform, okay, to demand for a review of some of the policies. And then before every laws are being made, there are public reviews, okay? The Senate create a system where the public are invited to participate, okay, to criticize and the rest, okay? So those are platforms that you could use to air your views in that aspect. So policies are meant to better the life of the people. Although there are some policies, of course, that to some extent, if you analyze it very well, they are good, but in the short term, they have a lot of negative things to do with poverty. Okay, for example, some of the policies that have been introduced in this administration, okay, if you critically analyze some of it, they are very good. But of course, because of a lot of factors that are beneath it, you discover that for the short term, this is not to speak for the government, this is not to defend the government, but for the short term, it comes with a lot of sacrifices. But in the long term, if you analyze it very well, they are for the good interest of the people. So I wouldn't expect a government, a government with good sense to introduce policies that will hurt the people. That is not good. But then you should also know that there are a lot of factors that affect some of those policies. Okay, in a country where you have a large chunk of their money being borrowed, okay, loans and all of it, and then some of the resources in which they generate to help keep the economy fit are being used to finance loans, to finance loan and all of those things. So if you introduce a policy to curtail some of those things, or let's say let's have the fuel subsidy and all of it. At the short term, you will discover that there will definitely be poverty. But in the long run, if we're able to solve that particular problem, you discover that it also have a lot of benefit. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. And the same person has a follow-up question. He said, please, immunity to political class, would you recommend it as inequality before the law? Yes. So if you need to respond, you can, while I pick the next person from the hands raised.
Okay, maybe pick the next question, then I will answer together.
Okay. Mr. Omonjewe, please ask a question. Thank you.
Good evening.
Good
Good evening, esteemed lecturer. The lecture was actually insightful. But mine is both a question and a comment. Now I'm talking about one of the best law that has actually come out of Nigeria since 1999 is actually the Freedom of Information Bill, FOI. And I think many of our people, many Nigerians have not actually been using this FOI a lot. Now, this actually exposes what government does, everything about governance. Now, the challenge is now I'm in an organization called Edo Civil Society Organization, a civil society group. I have my own personal organization, but I'm actually the director of strategy and mobilization in that group, coalition. Now, years ago, we actually took the governments of Edo State to court, demanding some certain things from them using the Freedom of Information Act. And up till now, they have failed to give us that. Sorry. So what we did was that we took them to court according to the Freedom of Information. It gives room for that. Took them to court. And now in the High Court, we lost. And what was their ground? They are saying that FOI has not been domesticated in Edo State. Our ground is that the FOI bill is a national legislation. It was legislated upon by the National Assembly, just like the Act establishing EFCC. So you can't say if EFCC is applicable to every state, you can't say FOI is not applicable to every state. So for close to about 5 years now, the case has been pending in the Supreme Court. They've never listed the case for hearing. We don't even know how the case is going on. My question is that how do we make sure, for me, FOI is a key law. How do we make sure state governance, we even took local government to court concerning one of our governors just wrote that they need to get a list of all the brooms, all the toiletries that the local government have bought in the past 3 years. What they did that they ran to court. So now, when civil society groups are trying to actually hold the government accountable, government are busy going to court to frustrate the effort of civil society. So what do we do? That's my question.
All right, thank you so much for that question. First, on the political immunity as a grant for inequality, I think that is a constitutional matter, and I wouldn't want to say it's an inequality. The Constitution, I think section 308 or so, provides for executive immunity for some certain categories of representative, president and the regs, okay? And basically, I think it is just to ensure that they do their work properly, they wouldn't be dragged here and there. But then it is a constitutional matter, and you cannot say it's a matter of inequality. It does not mean that they are not still under the law. The principles of the rule of law is that everyone is ruled by the law, okay, irrespective of who you are. So that you're a president does not mean that you cannot be impeached. The law gives the grant for you to be impeached, actually. Also, and after your term, you could also serve it could also be questioned as well. We could see former governors and the regs who initially had some level of immunity while they were governors, but now answering to their crimes and the regs. So it is not a matter of inequality per se, if you want to look at it. They are representative and they needed to do their law very well. And also, you also need to see it from the lens of them serving you, okay? So you are the boss, you are the one that that employed them, okay? So it's only in Nigeria here that they lord over the citizen as if they are the one that need the citizen more. Actually, it is actually you that put them there. You can also record them as well if the laws are effective. So it's a matter of constitution in that regard. Then another second very beautiful question that the comrade have asked is on how we could make state government to implement the FOI laws. You mentioned Edo State and how you lost a case. Actually, it's a very, very big problem that we have. I think recently some governors, about 16 or so, nearly got the EFCC, reduced the power of the EFCC by saying they shouldn't be, their power should not extend to state government because they have not domesticated EFCC Act, and then they lost the case or so. So what I'm trying to say in essence here is that there is a need for civil society organization, media, and all of us, okay, to mount pressures on the representatives that we elect into the state assembly to domesticate the laws. Lagos State and other states have these laws. Okay, there are a lot of states that actually have these laws. About 16 or so have the FOI law in place already. Okay, so it's an act. Okay, so if and you wouldn't expect the president to do it for you or any other person. You need to go back to your state and also lobby your representative, okay, to take it up. You understand? To take it up. And the best, like I said, the best platform to do it is through the civil society organization. There are many laws, like I told you, that in 2022, that we are the lead advocate to ensure that those laws be passed. Some of it, like the POCA, the anti-money laundering laws, and even some amendments in some laws and the rest. Like currently now we're working on the whistleblower protection law and all of it. Okay, so those are avenues that you could use to rally around your representative to pass those laws. Until the laws are in place, there is nothing that we can actually do, because it is only that legal framework that you could use to stand and say, okay, let's request for social kind of level of information from the government. Like you said, the FOI law is very, very important. It's very, very important. With the FOI law, ministries, department, and all of it, you can demand for information, and then when they are not giving the information, you can sue and all of it. So that is the best route to take. Collaborate with civil society organization at the federal, at the local level, state level, work with media organization to ensure that your representative pass the law. Okay, not even just the governor alone. Your representative have to be carried along to see the importance of passing the law. Okay, so that is it on that question. Thank you so much.
You're muted, Samsudin.
I'm sorry. So back to question from the chat box. And please, I would like to inform everybody putting up a question. We need to be as brief as possible to enable our facilitator give better explanation on answering those questions and give others the opportunity to ask their own questions too. Thank you. Trying to pick a question from the chat box. Okay. E.B. Clement Yusuf said, one of the most common areas corruption happens is procurement. This has very long connection from the MDAs to the National Assembly members to the organization that are supposed to monitor and evaluate procurement matters. Please, this makes corruption thrive, and fighting it continues to be ruthless. Okay, that doesn't look like a question. It's like an opinion. Okay, let's have Ayo. Ayo, please kindly unmute and ask your question. And please be brief. Be
Good
as
evening,
brief.
everyone.
Good
And
evening.
thank you to the facilitator for this session. One thing that struck me in the material was the definition of corruption, focusing on the abuse of people in power. And, I began to think that, hey, what about the followers? Because you can almost argue that the lack of integrity, accountability, discipline, and checks and balances within the Nigerian society is what is allowing this corruption to grow. So imagine a situation where we are all, practicing our integrity moral standards. Let me give you an example. At least I want to believe that most of us in Nigeria today will frown at a son slapping his father or his mother. That's a commonly held belief or something that is wrong. And we all frown at it. And, you can imagine how the violent reaction such a thing will trigger in our society today. So how come the followership is not demonstrating that same lack of tolerance for what we see today? And my question is, what are the civil societies doing about that? Because we're trying to talk about government, people in power. I think it's more than that. I like this session, this ECN, for example, because this is empowering people. But I want to ask from you, sir, what's the civil society's point of view on this? And are you fighting something that you are only fighting the symptom and not the root cause of the problem we are facing today?
All right, thank you so much for that brilliant question. To answer that question, I first have to give a background that actually our society is a reflection of what we have in politics today. The politician that is corrupt did not come from Marx or from hellfire to become a politician. They all came from a family, from a community, from a state, and all of it. Just like how we all are here today. Okay, the same way with the police. The police is also a reflection of what our society is. So it means that if our political system and institutions are bad, it means the society is also bad. And why do we have that? It is because of the lot of differences that we have in the country. Okay, we as Nigerians, we are more loyal to our ethnic differences and all of it than to a national interest. And that is where the problem is. Okay, you'll see today that a particular politician is being investigated and arrested for a corrupt practice. You'll be so surprised that the community persons will be the first persons to come and protest that particular politician should be released. That is the level at which the people that are victim, actually, you could imagine that. Okay, so the same persons, once they are elected into political positions, you could see some unnecessary pressure from the society on them. This is a Yuletide period, end of the year, and everyone is closing and going back to their village to celebrate and the rest. Now, go to the house of a politician this period and see the kind of pressure that mounts on them. Now, there is an unnecessary demand that, okay, let's say because you're a politician, you should solve the entire societal problem, and even if they don't even care where you get the money from. So those kind of pressure, unnecessary pressure, ensures that politicians also look beyond what they get as a person in serving you. So you look at it from that angle, you discover that the problem is not just at the top. The problem is enabled by citizens, by ourselves, and we are all guilty of this. Okay, even at student level or campus level politics, you could see all of those things playing out. Okay, you could see religion as well playing out. A particular investigation will start. Someone will say, "Oh, why is this person targeting Muslims? The person is targeting all Muslims, or the person is targeting Christians." So you see all of those differences and all of those petty differences are one of the things that encourage corrupt practices in our society. Okay, so in terms of in terms of what the civil society does, on our own, we have been able to carry society along. Most of those things that databases that I've talked about and those interventions that I have talked about, they are not just for law enforcement agencies. We try to carry the society along by engaging in media advocacy, holding programs. Now, there was a time I think about 2-3 months ago, we were in Zaria, okay, where we trained journalists and lawyers on how to use some of those tools that we have developed to demand for accountability from representatives from states and the rest, especially when it comes to autonomy for local government. We train them on those laws, on those tools that are available to ensure that there is transparency. So on our part, that's what civil society would do. But it is not just left for the civil society. Everyone is also part of this. The religious body have a lot of role to also play. Okay, so religion should not be tolerate corruption. Okay, you see, churches don't even preach corruption. They give the highest churches, mosques, and the rest, highest positions, and all of it, respect, and all of this to the political leaders, those that have influence. So with that kind of scenario, it is difficult to fight the problem. Okay, so it goes down to the religious body, the traditional rulers, you and I, and everyone. We fight it right from the kinship system, from the family system, and all of it. Okay, so when we come together in that light and also help the civil society in that front to fight corruption, you discover that the problem will fade away. But however, we shouldn't be tired. Okay, we shouldn't be tired in our own little space. Try to be good person, at least on your own part. It starts as simple as that. Okay, on your own part, be a good person. If you are a good person, definitely you get to influence the other persons, influence your children and those around you. And like that, we could have a better society. And also another point I made during the presentation is leading by example. Okay, now a lot of Nigerians that witnessed the short time of late President Yaradua could testify that, oh, we have so things going, we have so things going, the things that were better, and all of this. And also other leaders that did very, very well. Those are examples that society people can model after. Not the kind of society where you could see a political person would have amassed trillions, billions of dollars, and at the end, he just paid 100 million and then it goes away. What does it tell me as a young man? I can actually steal and pay quite a number of money, and then all of it goes away. So you see where the problem is. So if we also lead as leaders in your own capacity, also lead by example, it also serves as a solution to the problem. Thank you so much. I don't know if there are other questions.
Okay, Samson, we can't hear you. Your network. Okay, so I think he's having a bit of a network challenge. But I can't see any other hands raised. Okay, so someone is asking, Musa Abdullahi, saying that let's take a scenario where you find yourself in a sector that fights corruption and people leading that very sector were corrupt individuals. What role can you play in tackling such issues? And what measures can you follow to address such issues?
All right, thank you so much for that brilliant question. If you find yourself in a scenario where you are expected to fight corruption and then there's a lot of corruption going on, what you should do is to blow the whistle. And why I am dragging the blow the whistle is because there is actually no standard legal framework to protect you. But then what is expected of you to do is to blow whistle, okay? To report the situation anonymously, okay? For now, and you could do that. Even I think the Ministry of Finance has a policy on whistleblower and also a platform, and also Ministry of Justice also. But I know of Ministry of Finance also that have a platform where you could do anonymous reporting as well, okay? That you report the particular situation. But then unfortunately, we don't have that protection for whistleblower, which is actually the major problem that we have currently, which my civil society organization and others are currently leading advocacy to have that kind of situation. We have had a situation where different persons in fact, I have one a friend who is almost at the director level in JAMB that blew the whistle and got dismissed, actually. So there is no protection. The person just got dismissed for blowing whistle. He has all the evidence and the rest, and he's still pursuing the case. You could imagine there are other cases as many that are there. So that is one of the problems currently we have in our legal framework when it comes to whistleblowing. Okay, so you discover that those that blew the whistle get to pay the ultimate price. But then this does not stop you from still blowing the whistle. Okay, but then if there are ways that you could do it anonymously, that is fine. EFCC also encourage whistleblowing as well. In fact, EFCC have rewards for those that blow whistle around asset recovery, and there is actually a recovery of that particular asset. A successful recovery of that particular asset, there's a percentage for you actually. Even Ministry of Finance also does that. Okay, for example, you discover that a politician is embezzling money, building houses and the rest in Abuja here and then you have evidence. Okay, you could do a safe whistleblow within the EFCC, and then if they recover the asset, you have a very big percentage actually. Okay, so those are things that are meant to encourage citizens to blow the whistle and all of it. Okay, but then, like I said, there is a good side to it. There is also a bad side to it. I just told you of the incentives that is accrued to it. I've also told you also that there is no unified laws, okay, that guide those that blows the whistle. Thank you so much.
All right, I think there's another question here. Thank you for that answer. Yusuf is asking, what's your thoughts regarding plea bargain by EFCC? Does it amount to preferential treatment? As in most cases, it is only applicable to highly placed people. Did you get the question, Mr. Godwin?
Yeah, thank you for that. Listen, this have to do with the law and the legal body and all of it. I wouldn't say it's a preferential treatment because there are some of these assets, like I've been saying, that sometimes are difficult to get. There are a lot of things I told you in our research that we had with the law enforcement agencies on the parallel report and other, the United Nations, the parallel report and the rest. The law enforcement in recovering those assets, they face a lot of challenges. Okay, so there's no best way to answer this question very well because it has to do with there are a lot of factors to it. There are a lot of things to it, and it has to do with whether the law gives permission for that and all of it. So I cannot best answer that question currently now, but I won't call it preferential treatment. I will call it a thing of the law. So those who are within that field will know better. Thank you.
Okay, Samson, are you back?
Yes, I'm back. My network is a bit stable now. No hands raised. And we can take another one from Sikiru Babalola. How true is the allegedly 10% kickbacks by the construction company to the people who are saddled with responsibility of doling out contracts, e.g., governor or directors? Is it constitutional?
Uh, 10%, when you call it kickback, it is already a law. It's already a crime, a criminal thing. That's a crime. Okay, so there shouldn't be kickback in the first place. The standard practice by the World Bank and the rest when it comes to procurement and the rest is you release a tender, people compete for it. Okay, so people compete for it in a very transparent manner, and then you award to the company that meets the certain criteria that you have set. So when you talk about kickback and then wanting it to please, any lawyer who is here could answer this question, but this is not constitutional. Okay, this is in fact, when you call it kickback, it's already a criminal offense. So let's just be straightforward with it. It is not constitutional and it is not right. There shouldn't be a kickback. Somebody is even mentioning 40% and all of those. Those are petty things that are spread and are there for corruption to thrive. When you are giving an annual report, then you then put 10% kickback that you have given. Come on, it's not something that you could measure and say. So this is not. This is wrong. This is wrong to the best of my knowledge. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Mr. Godwin. Thank you for your time. Thank you for the insightful session. And in the absence of no further questions, either through raise of hands and in the chat box, I would like to give us a recap on what the topic today is all about, is governance and corruption. And in the process of answering the questions, our facilitator came up with some acronyms and initialism. I would like to further read out the meaning to us. He said, UNCAC, UNCAC is the United Nations Convention Against Corruption. And I think we had the FOI 2, which is the Freedom of Information Law. So in the absence of no further questions, so we would have to say a goodbye to everyone, end of the class today, and a big thank you to our facilitator and everyone here present. See you all tomorrow. And please, everyone should kindly unmute and say a resounding thank you to our facilitator.
Okay, I can't hear today. Is it just me?
Okay.
Okay, I can hear you now. All right, so
Can you hear me now?
yes, you're back.
Oh, okay.
Thank you so much. Thank you so much, Mr. Godwin. It's been a very insightful class. Thank you for your time and thank you for standing in for Mr. Umar. We really appreciate your time and your insights shared this evening. It's been a great pleasure. Thank you. We look forward to having you again, hopefully.
It's fine. Thank you.
Thank you. So I'll just allow the students on mute to tell you thank you, and then we'll end the class. Thank you.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Thank you. Thank you. Good day. Bye-bye.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you so much.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you.
Jazakallah khair.
Thank you.
All right. So thank you. everyone. Classes continue tomorrow. Thank you again, Mr. Godwin. And well done, Samsudin. Great moderation. All right, so good evening, everyone. Enjoy the rest of your day.